At the end from D. Winters to ice it, and they beat the Colts 48-27. The 49ers have now won 5 in a row, and they still hold the keys to the 1 seed and the opportunity to have home cooking all the way to Super Bowl 60 at Levi Stadium.
It's game day from Levi Stadium. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you. Christmas weekend. Hope everybody had a nice holidays. We get ready for the new year and for the postseason and what'll feel like a playoff game tonight. The biggest game of the season, the Niners and the Bears. Sunday Night Football after the Seahawks won today. The Niners still control their own destiny, but they'll need a win this week and a win in Week 18 against Seattle. What's going on, guys? How are we?
Good. How are you?
Doing
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Todd, what's going on, man?
Doing awesome. Had a great week with the family and friends, and now excited for Sunday Night Football. 2 11-4 teams squaring off for a chance at the 1 seed.
I would say I'm at the point of the year where I only know the day of the week because of when the 49ers play. And by the way, we don't know that for next week. We'll find that out potentially later today. I'd think maybe halftime, but because of the implications, maybe not till the end of this game. We know the Rams game won't mean anything next week, but they've yet to schedule the 2 Saturday games or the Sunday night game, and it could very well be the Niners and the Seahawks. So coming off of last week's game, let's get into some of that. As the 49ers can play the remainder of their season at home if they continue to win, 5 wins away at home from a Super Bowl championship. Brock Purdy last week, the best we've seen him play since 2023, Tracy?
Since 2023, but also maybe ever. I mean, I think
it was maybe his best game of all time. Yeah.
He was incredible in 2023. I'm not taking anything away from that, but he was just in his bag, as the kids like to say, the other night. Absolutely on fire, and he just seems completely in control, completely in command. And he's playing with a confidence that he's going to throw that ball and it's going to go exactly where he wants it to go.
Yeah, what did you see from him last week, Todd?
His accuracy, his timing. I thought the 49ers offense was as good as it looked all season. We've talked about how they lacked a big play, and so they have to have the 12, 13, 14 play drives. Last week, we saw a 6-play touchdown drive, a 5-play touchdown drive. They had 9 pass plays over 15 yards and 8 rushes, 9 or more yards. So they were getting plays, yards in chunks, and a lot of that was Brock Purdy's timing, his ability to deliver the ball where the receivers can catch and run, get yards after the catch. The offense was on fire, spreading it around. I thought Kyle Shanahan called one of his best games where the reads weren't necessarily easy, but he was creating matchups where Brock Purdy knew where he was going pre-snap, and we saw Demarcus Robinson catch a touchdown. The first non-Juwan Jennings receiver to catch a touchdown all season.
And still the only.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is crazy in week 16.
And by the way, Juwan said, no, I'm still going to get mine, and caught another touchdown last week as well. A huge game in the receiving game and the pass game. George Kittle, though, did leave the game with an injury. We'll talk more about him in just a bit. 7 catches for him, 115 yards. And you know he wants to be out there today. He's questionable with that ankle sprain, but not looking like he's going to be able to go. They did elevate Braden Willis from the practice squad, which might have been an indication yesterday that he was not going to be able to go. Christian McCaffrey, 6 catches through the air, only 29 yards, but 2 more receiving touchdowns for him. He's got 16, I think it is now on the season. I mean, he had 20 in his Offensive Player of the Year season. We've talked about what he's able to do for the offense. Also, Todd, because you've been tracking this all year, he had a 24-yard run last week in the fourth quarter, his longest of the season and only his second 24-yard run of 2025.
Still not the longest. Run, yeah. Still not the longest run of the year, which Brock Purdy set a couple weeks ago with his 26-yard run. But that offense, the offensive line did a great job last week, both in pass protection, only 1 sack of Brock Purdy, and that was on the tight end. But opening up the holes, Christian McCaffrey for the first time all year was getting 3, 4, 5 yards past the line of scrimmage before he has to make his first cut or before his first contact. So the holes were there. They were pulling the backside. They were doing some different things with shifts and motions, but everything was working a week ago.
I want to throw this at you guys because I think there's a lot of, when you have a season like the Niners have had right now at 11-4 and still a chance to be the number 1 seed. I mean, the expectations throughout the season change based on what's available to you in terms of your health, how your team's playing, how many players you've lost. I mean, I almost forget that they were missing George Kittle for such a huge portion of the front end of the season. But when you have a year like this and there's this much success, there's a lot of reasons why you've been successful. And I think a lot of people at one point were saying, wait for Brock Purdy to get healthy. Don't bring him back. He's not 100%. It's not worth it this year. It's a lost season because of the injuries you faced. And then you look around the league and you see the deficiency some of the other teams have. And then you see Brock get healthier than I think we've seen him all year. I mean, week 1 is kind of a wash. He got hurt in the game, but also it's basically game 1 for everybody. It's like preseason. But in the way that Brock played last week and maybe even 2 weeks ago, it became really evident to me how different he and Mac Jones are. I give Mac Jones a lot of credit for where the Niners are this season, and this isn't to take anything away from him. We knew he operated the offense at a high level, but it's not just Brock's ability to process 4 years into this offense at a level that nobody else in Kyle's offenses have, I don't think, since Matt Ryan, but it's also what he can do mobility-wise. He offers you more. So Brock, at close to 100%, I think is a much different quarterback than we were acting like he was comparatively to Mac Jones. That was my take on last week.
Well, I think at the time we talked a lot about recency bias. And
Sure.
was it because last year was so tough and week one was not good? But taking nothing away from Mac Jones, who this team without him would be not going for the number one seed right now. But I think to me, it shows that Brock is an elite quarterback, that he's a step above. He's a top 10 quarterback in this league because it is different. And that was really evident in the Arizona game when he first came back. Like, it's just different. It's smoother and it just runs even better. Of course, he's had more time in the offense, but I think he is one of these quarterbacks that's just a step above. And I think he's proven that the last year.
What about you, Todd?
I think what's exciting is the quarterback we saw last week. That's who Brock Purdy is.
Yeah.
He wasn't spectacular. He was steady. And then he made a couple throws where he extended the play, the roll to his right, where he throws it to the tight end late. That was a great throw. Great job by the tight end coming back and catching the ball. He made another play rolling to his left where he flips his hips and floats it right over the linebacker, right on the wide receiver. Those are hard plays. But that's who he is. He's an athletic quarterback who can throw on the run. He makes good decisions. When he's in the pocket, he can operate the offense from that perspective. But his ability to extend plays, but also run play action where they move him and get him outside, that just opens up so many more plays that really, as good as Mac Jones played, that part of the offense was not there for the 49ers. So I think with the quarterback we saw last week, when Brock Purdy's healthy, that's who he is.
How hard is it to fathom, what a quarterback learns or retains or starts to process when you're in the second or third or fourth year of an offense? Like, I was thinking about Alex Smith when he got here. Like, I was wondering what he might have been, because when he got to Kansas City and we saw how he played as a veteran with Andy Reid, with a good play caller who knew how to get the most out of him, we saw him have the best levels of success, I think, of his career. He had like 5 O coordinators in 6 years. When you've got Kyle here, and I think he got the most out of Jimmy he could have gotten. That was the longest term starter
100%.
until Brock Purdy right now. So I do wonder, how much of that has to do with Brock is obviously a football maniac and sees the game in a way that some other guys don't. But it's his understanding of the offense 4 years in that Mac Jones wouldn't even be capable of obtaining, because he's only in year one and made however many starts.
Well, I think that's the thing with quarterbacks in this league. When we call someone a bust after a year, after 2 years, even with Mac Jones is a great example.
Yeah.
Look at how much better he is this year with Kyle. So I think a lot of it is Brock, a lot of it is Kyle, and a lot of it is that they work really well together. I mean, people are always like, it's the system. And if it is, who cares? He works really well with Kyle Shanahan. The system works for him. Not everybody can run the system, as we know. So I just think it is Brock. It's his talent. It's his ability to process. And it's Kyle. And they're a tremendous team. And to me, that's what people should be focused on, how lucky they are to be a team together on this team.
Coaches one of their jobs is to unlock the talent and the potential of their players. And we've seen it with Liam Cohen. And Trevor Lawrence, I'm not a huge fan, as we saw early in the season where he just makes some bonehead mistakes.
Yeah.
He's cut those mistakes way down. And Liam Cohen has elevated Trevor Lawrence to be one of the better quarterbacks right now in the NFL. We're seeing it on the other side of the field with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams, who has become a much better quarterback this year. He didn't throw a lot of interceptions as a rookie, but he's taken way fewer sacks. I think the number last year was 68 sacks. This year, only 23. So he is operating at a much higher level. And Shanahan and Purdy, not just one season, which he's done with Mac Jones, but the evolution of a quarterback, the understanding of a quarterback, knowing and seeing it before and being ready for it and being able to do more within that offense. I think it's a great when you have a quarterback and a coach like Andy Reid has done with so many different players. And when he gets an elite talent like Patrick Mahomes, that's where you get something special. I think we're seeing that right now with Kyle Shanahan and a healthy Brock Purdy.
For the second year in a row, Niners are going to see the Chicago Bears here at Levi Stadium Sunday Night Football, 5:20 kickoff right here on the Sports Leader. 11-4 are the Bears, and after yesterday, they are the NFC North champions. They're division winners, and they're going into the postseason as one of the more feared teams in the first season under Ben Johnson. And a big part of that, we'll talk about the defense later, is the way Caleb Johnson's played. You pointed out to me, Todd, before we got going, 68 sacks or something for him last year. He held the ball a ton. The Niners, I think, had 5 against him, and they were not a team that was getting to the quarterback last season. 68 sacks last year. He's down to 23 this year. 3,400 yards passing. Not a great completion percentage. They run the ball really well. What have you seen from Caleb Williams this year, Todd?
Cutting down on the mistakes. He's made some big-time throws, and that's the danger of having a quarterback so talented. And Mahomes is a similar type player, and when he's taken his game to the next level, it's because of that evolution and the cut down on the mistakes, and we're seeing that this season with Caleb Williams. Again, only 6 interceptions, but way fewer sacks, keeping that offense on pace. Now, they won a lot of games late. And good teams do that, but recovering the onside kick against Green Bay, I mean, there's been some crazy plays that have happened throughout the season where they've put themselves in a position to win, and Caleb Williams has made some throws. He is dangerous. It's a much different quarterback than they faced a week ago, where they knew Phillip Rivers is going to be on his spot. If they can make him move a little bit, if they make Caleb Williams move, he can make as many plays outside the pocket as he can inside. So I think forcing him into some mistakes, get him frustrated a little bit early, don't let him sit back there and rip off some big throws. I think but the defense has to be careful. You can't over pursue and let him get outside, because that's where he can really hurt you down the field.
That throw he made at the end of the game last week, I mean, not a lot of people can make that throw. I mean, it was unbelievable. And I'm thinking, when we talk about Kyle and Brock being his 4th year, imagine Caleb Williams in year 4 with Ben Johnson.
That's what I mean, what he's getting out of him now. I mean, I'm intrigued by what you can see. We saw it with Sean McVay and Jared Goff, and I think he kind of went the same route as Jimmy, while a different type of quarterback. I think Sean McVay thought, hey, I have a chance to get a Hall of Fame quarterback, and I think I've gotten as much out of Jared Goff as I can. And sure enough, he found success elsewhere with Ben Johnson, which is sort of ironic, but that's the way it goes. I mean, situations are huge for quarterbacks. We'll make this our quarterback comparison, sponsored by Friedman's Appliance, proudly serving all of Northern California with a wide selection of luxury appliances. Visit them in Pleasant Hill to see the Friedman's difference. The 49ers offense got hot at the right time. Brock Purdy 5-0 since he's returned from the injury. They have not lost since they played the LA Rams in Week 10, and Brock Purdy did not play in that game, right?
No, he
came back the following week against Arizona,
yes,
and they've been off and running since. 48 points last week. Is today going to be a shootout? Is this a game where the two offenses are just going to go head-to-head? The Bears do turn it over a lot. We'll talk more about that and what we learned about the Niners in their win over the Colts. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you. It's Week 17, the Niners and the Bears, Sunday Night Football, and it's only here on the Sports Leader.
Now he throws to the near pylon, and it's caught by McCaffrey. Touchdown, 49ers. Touchdown.
I guess when you're such a precise play caller, just let one go and get it to Christian McCaffrey, wide open out in the flat.
The 5th touchdown, a career high for Brock Purdy tonight.
Christian McCaffrey, 2 receiving touchdowns last week. Brock Purdy, as Tracy said to start the show, maybe the best game he's ever played. 5 passing touchdowns last week. 2 of them go to McCaffrey. And as Todd pointed out, Demarcus Robinson, the first 49er wide receiver in week 16 to catch a touchdown pass that was not Juwan Jennings. And I think Jennings now has 8 on the year after his touchdown reception last week. We can talk more about this. The Niners are the 9th highest scoring team in football in points per game at 26.1. The defense for the Bears does allow points, 23.6. They're 19th allowed in points allowed per game, but they're a team that turns it over a lot. 21 interceptions for them is the most in the NFL. The Niners have 6, which puts them at second fewest, ahead of only the New York Jets, who have 0 as it stands right now after their game today. They hired a DB as their coach. They have 0 interceptions, which is wild. I know it's not all about DB play and all that. They did trade away Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams, but they didn't have picks with those guys there either, which is just kind of funky. So what did you guys learn about the Niners last week? Because I think anybody who was skeptical about the 49ers, and I'm talking to Derek Papa specifically, anybody who was skeptical about the 49ers because they felt that what they were seeing was maybe qualified by the quality of opponent that they had played, which I think is fair. I think you have to put that in the context of the teams that they play. That said, they were beating the teams that were worse than them. Even if you thought they were the worst of the good teams, the worst of the playoff teams, they handled business. You can only play the games that are in front of you. Well, then they play a Colts team that wasn't a pushover defense. Lou Almirona's a great defensive coordinator. They had weapons out there, and Brock Purdy carved them up. The defense stabilized after Phillip Rivers got going, and we can talk more about that. But what did you guys learn about the Niners last week against the Colts?
Well, I think you said it. They're beating the teams that they need to beat. And this Colts defense is not the same Colts defense it was maybe 6 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. However, they are handling business. And I think when you look around the league, and we've talked a lot about this on the pregame shows throughout the season, it's anybody's Super Bowl more than any other season. And so the 49ers are doing what they need to do. They have 2 very tough games ahead of them, and I think we'll learn more about them in these 2 tough games. But they're also doing what George Kittle said they were going to have to do very early in the season. The offense was going to have to carry the team, and the offense is carrying the team.
Well, and there's 2 ways to win. There's squeaking out a win against a team that you're clearly better than, or there's coming out and playing really good football, which they did a week ago. And I think even the first half or first 2.5 quarters against Tennessee the prior week, when they're clicking on offense like they were a week ago, they're tough to beat. And then you add in the special teams that's playing at a very high level and creating great field position and creating turnovers and scoring points. They've been awesome, and you get a late defensive touchdown. I mean, all 3 phases, and you said it, the defense didn't get off to a good start, but they're able to make some changes at halftime and frustrate Phillip Rivers. And all of a sudden, this is a team that, even without a playmaking wide receiver, Juwan Jennings has been steady, but not great. They're able to spread the ball around. They don't throw it down the field. Even their passes over 15 yards are often underneath where they get yards after the catch, but they're distributing it well. Brock Purdy's at the top of his game. And all of a sudden, when Christian McCaffrey can get some steam going and make guys miss and average 6 yards a carry like he did a week ago, boy, they're a tough out right now. And they have some momentum. They haven't punted in the month of December. Their offense is clicking. They're great. They continue to be great on third down. And the defense steps it up on third down. Not early in the game against Indy, but the whole season. They've been really good on both sides of the ball on third down.
It's funny thinking about the Niner game last week in context of it being the Monday night game and it ending or bookending the week that started with that Rams and Seattle game, where I left that game going, damn, these 2 teams are good. I also started to wonder, does your defense have to be that great this year in the NFC to win? Can you get by? Because, the Rams, their secondary is soft, and the Seahawks picked on them in the second half. The Rams, I thought, mismanaged it. They got away from the run. They ran it 24 times in the first half of that game, and then like 12 times or something in the second half, and let Seattle get back into it. Obviously, some special teams plays came into account there as well. But I left that game thinking, man, if your offense can be really, really good, I think you can get by over some of the best defenses, which are the Rams and Seattle, 2 of the top teams in the NFC. Then the Niners came out and showed that their offense, I think, could go toe-to-toe with those 2 teams. Like, the Niners pulled within 8 a couple of different times in that game against the Rams, and I know they missed on the 4th and short in deep in Rams territory. Then they throw an interception. I think it was Juwan Jennings fumbled on the other end. And so the Rams went up 21-0 quick, and the Niners had to try to – I think the game script changed a little bit for how they went about it. I don't think that game gets out of hand in the way that it did if the Niners had Brock Purdy in the way they're playing right now. It's kind of my point. I just think that offense last week showed me they're as good as the other offenses, even when not at full strength.
And I think George Kittle is a difference maker. He started off that game with a large catch down the middle in traffic, triple coverage, and all of a sudden the field position changes. They're past midfield. Kittle was awesome last week, over 100 yards in limited action in the second half. He is a difference maker, so they're going to need him healthy. Hopefully he can go today. If not, they need him healthy for certainly week 18 against Seattle and then into the playoffs.
We'll give you more on this a bit later when we get into the injury stuff. But I saw Jay Glazer this morning report on Fox before the game started going that while George Kittle is questionable, his report was that they're kind of going to let him see how he feels before the game. But he said it's trending more towards doubtful is what I'm hearing. And he said if it wasn't George Kittle, they might not even give you the go. They're kind of like, it's almost like you got to see what George is feeling because it's George Kittle. So if he's feeling good enough to go and they think it's okay, they let him. But he said it's trending more towards doubtful. Did say Ricky Pearsall looks like he's going to be active as he was at practice yesterday.
Yes, and Schefter actually reported both of those things as well, which I feel like were those two very good sources. And I think with Kittle, the thing is, yes, they want the 1 seed. Absolutely, that would be amazing. But they have a playoff spot, and they need George Kittle in the playoffs. So they can't chance it. They just can't. He goes out there, tweaks it worse, and now he's out the next several weeks. That would be bad. So I've been wrong before a couple of times. I would be shocked if George Kittle plays tonight, and that is a difference maker because he's also a difference maker in the run game. I mean, his blocking ability, what he does on the field in every way. George Kittle, like you said, he is the key. He is the key, and he is. If we're gonna go with like metaphors, he's a key that can unlock Christian McCaffrey.
He does. I mean, it's changed. And I mean, the run game didn't evolve or change a ton once he came back. You did feel his presence in the run game, but really it was about what he did in taking the ball out of McCaffrey's hands where he had to be the leading receiver. We keep talking about the Demarcus Robinson stat being the first receiver that wasn't Jennings to catch a touchdown in week 16. But you go, well, how do they score that much? They threw to McCaffrey a lot. They threw to Jennings a lot, and they threw to Kittle a ton. And so it's funny when your top receiver is actually a tight end and a running back. I don't think they're best receivers in the receiving core at all.
I would agree with that assessment.
I think most people would.
Well, and the way they've mixed it up in the passing game, I think is another key to Kyle Shanahan and figuring it out. Like, here's what you have to work with.
Yeah.
Figure out how to throw for 300 yards a game. And he's done it and pieced it together. But you mentioned the run game. When you have Kittle and Juszczyk and Trent Williams on the left side and you pull Purdy, which they did a bunch last week, that's a lot of beef at the point of attack, and they were moving people around like we hadn't seen most of the season.
I got to tell you, as perplexing as a lot of this season's been, like with the context that we talked about, when you think of the notes and the things they haven't been able to do well, yet find ways to win, and that for a long time, I think was their calling card, is they just figure out ways to win. To your point about Kyle, they also play really tight, clean football. They are no pre-snap penalties, seemingly. They don't give the ball away a ton, and when they do turn it over, which is rare, they take advantage of the turnovers. It seems like they make other teams pay anytime there's a mistake made. Like the thing that's interesting that I wasn't anticipating was how well the offensive line has played in the last 6 weeks or so, specifically the last month. Like, of all the unexpected things to happen, I didn't have that on my bingo card. That the O-line was just going to become maybe the strongest unit on any side of the ball.
I think Purdy's healthy. Early in the season, you could tell he was not the same guy we saw last year. Really be effective in the run game and a solid pass protector.
He was healthy. A rookie last year too, right?
He was.
Like getting through your first season and knowing what that feels like, that's hard.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
a tough deal.
And he played at a high level, and he wasn't at the same level early in the season. I think he's healthy. Also getting the same group of guys together and playing together and getting more snaps. And Kyle Shanahan said that in his press conference this week. But getting that unit with some familiarity and working together, and they're seeing the same things and they're passing things off. That's a huge part of it as well.
Well, one can make the argument, an offensive line, there's no unit that relies more on chemistry than an offensive line.
Yeah.
Like that is something that builds over time. And I think the thing with the offensive line is we really haven't been talking about them the last month to 6 weeks, and that is a good sign.
Yeah.
You do not want to be talking about them in that way. But Christian, in his post-game press conference on Monday, started by giving them a ton of credit, and they deserve it. I think we saw that also in 22. We saw it in 23. People had questions, and they just kept rolling along, and they ended up becoming a strong unit, and there you go.
And Brock helps that too. Quick decisions, getting the ball out of his hands, able to escape when there is some pressure. It all works together.
Does it feel like, because of the way the offense is going, and it's interesting, again, so predicated on the pass game. I know entering last week, and I haven't looked today, entering week 16, the Niners were 32nd in the league in yards per carry with Christian McCaffrey with 3.2 or something entering play. Is it feasible that they can compete still at the highest level with really the game on Brock's shoulders and in the passing game? I mean, that's really what you're looking at. And for everybody who says he needs the offense and he needs his weapons to be great, again, I would say all the time he doesn't have access to all of his weapons. That's happened frequently this year. They've still found ways to win. He's playing at a high level. He seems to be getting healthier. I mean, maybe he's getting hot. I think there's something to that, playing a hot run right now. But can they get by relying purely on Brock's shoulder?
When I think part of it was teams were going to take their chances with Mac Jones.
Yeah.
We're going to overload, stop the run, and see if Mac Jones can beat us on the defensive side. And with Brock being back and playing like he's playing, all of a sudden teams can't do that. You're seeing more high safeties, a little bit more focus on George Kittle and maybe Christian McCaffrey in the passing game. And last week they took advantage of that and were much more effective in the run game. So hopefully with what they've put on film, teams aren't able to key in on the run game as much, and that opens up everything.
I think an underrated thing from last week too is he threw 5 touchdowns to 4 different receivers,
Yeah.
which is where they are in terms of their playmakers. But I also think that shows it's not the weapons, it's the quarterback, and he knows how to use the weapons at his disposal, and he's getting the job done.
And by the way, the catch of the night was probably Brock's 6th touchdown that was not tallied.
Right.
It was the Tonjes catch, which was incredible. Toe drag. I mean, I guess Kyle. My guess is that Kyle just didn't hear from anybody that got a clear enough view quickly enough, and they just said, "Fine, we'll run it back again." And the next play goes for a touchdown to McCaffrey. But it was back-to-back plays where he rolled out to the right, threw a dart. He made some really, really good throws, I thought, on rollout plays, design rollouts in that game.
And it not just movement in the pocket, but you're right, escaping the rush, buying more time, creating 3 or 4 more seconds where defensive backs have to make the play. And that touchdown he threw to Kittle in the back of the end zone, Kittle comes back to the ball. That was a great throw. It's one of those where he's throwing it back across his body. Oh, touchdown.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But those are the types of plays that wasn't an anomaly. Those are the types of plays Brock Purdy can make consistently. And that's why we saw early in the game, moving the pocket, getting the defense a little off balance and faking with the run. When they can do all of that, how do you prepare for that as a defense? Because they can attack the perimeter, they can attack inside with the run game, and they can throw it to everybody in the route.
Well, and I had a lot of respect for the way Shane Steichen and the Colts came out last week. I mean, we talked for a week about Phillip Rivers not being able to throw it downfield. He wasn't even doing it in his final season in 2020. They were bringing in Jacoby Brissett to throw Hail Marys at the end of games and halves. They came out and they knew we have to win this game to try to stay alive for the playoffs. We do not want to play from behind. We can't fall behind because it's going to be a tough team to climb back in against. Props to them for winning the toss. Going down and scoring, and Rivers throwing it deep on the first snap of the game. They lose the center. He was hot the whole way down, 3 huge third downs, made some big throws. The Niners, though, then for the first time in weeks, had to respond. They hadn't trailed in the game since they played the Rams week 10, and immediately they responded. So for me, again, it's all about a hot start today. And check this note out as we do Who's Hot, sponsored by Valley Heating Cooling, electrical and solar, locally and family owned for 62 years, and by Rayleigh's and Nob Hill. Save more on the flavors you love and find better deals for your budget at Rayleigh's and Nob Hill. The Bears have not allowed an opening drive score in 7 straight games. How about that? And they've given up an NFL low 10 points on opening drives this season. The Niners have 5 touchdowns and 1 field goal on 7 opening drives with Brock at quarterback.
Something's going to have to
Something's going to give today.
Something's going to give. The thing with these Bears, too, is, and you talked about it, Todd, they're getting lucky and they're squeaking out wins, but that also is what happens to good teams. And I think your luck goes your way when you're playing well. And I think that is something that the 49ers are going to want to start hot too, because this team will come back. I mean, I actually asked Kyle about that Friday. I said, is this more than any other team? Do you have to drill in the no complacency? It doesn't matter how much we're up and how much time is left because they'll win. And he said, yes. He said, we try to do it every week, but with this team specifically, yes. And so I think getting out to a hot start, taking advantage of opportunities, not having to play from behind at all is going to be huge, because this one will come down to the wire, in my humble opinion.
What do they say? Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
There you go.
They've had opportunities to win games, and they've taken advantage of it. But we'll talk more about the defense in a bit, I'm sure. But the rookies starting to step up. Alfred Collins with his first sack. C.J. West with the sack. And I thought Upton Stout played his best game of the season. Stout plays with a level of confidence that you don't see often from rookies, especially DBs. He was flying all over the field last week against Indy. He has stepped his game up. So all of a sudden, you're starting to see some of the young players that the Niners drafted last year and we're hoping would develop, they're starting to develop.
What do you think about the impact that has when they play next week against Seattle? I mean, we talked about it week one, Upton Stout, baptism by fire, thrown into it against Seattle, tough environment as a rookie, first NFL game. Now he's going up against guys he's seen before. That, the moment won't be too big because he's been out there performing all year. He's not a rookie by the time you get to the very end of the season. It's not the first time he's seen it this time around. To Tracy's point about the Bears being a hot come-from-behind team, and by the way, the Seahawks are a team like that in the second half and have been. Today they were 3-3 at the half, blew up second half. They came back and beat the Colts. They did it against the Rams, not a big first half, blew up second half. They were 6-6 against Atlanta 4 weeks ago and blew up again in the second half. So they can do it to you. But the Bears are the first team in NFL history to have won 6 games in one season where they trailed in the final 2 minutes.
I mean, that's crazy.
And we're talking, it was 16-9 with 24 seconds against the Packers, 17-16 with 3 seconds against the Vikings, 20-17, 154 against the Giants. It was 41-42 Bengals, 25 seconds to play, and the Raiders 139 to play, and they were up 24-19. So
those are, I'd like to point out, those are 4 bad teams.
those are 4 bad teams.
The ones you just
Well,
mentioned.
the last 4,
But
yeah.
they still
Bengals,
did
Giants,
it. But you
yes.
could say the same thing about the 49ers playing the Browns and all this. I mean, you play who you play, and if you can get the job done against those teams.
And the Packers didn't have Micah. Yeah,
No,
I'm just saying.
Well,
But-
here's, yeah. You
I
could
don't
look
think they should be underestimated.
you could look at it, they should have been up more. If they're a really good team, it shouldn't have come down to the last minute against some of those teams that are crummy.
Well, they are experienced now in that scenario. We'll talk more about this. Matt Mayoko, our 49ers insider from NBC Sports Bay Area, is going to join us coming up next. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you, the Niners and the Bears. It's a 5:20 kickoff Sunday Night Football, and it's only here on the Sports Leader. Live from Levi Stadium, Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you. The Niners and the Bears Sunday Night Football coming your way with a 5:20 kick right here on the Sports Leader. Joining us is our 49ers insider from NBC Sports Bay Area, Matt Mayoko. Matt, what's going on, man?
Nothing too much. Just seeing how that Week 18 schedule starts stacking up, and it's incumbent upon the 49ers now to take care of business and make that game coming up Week 18 against Seattle for all the marbles in the NFC West and the NFC. So it's been a good day of football. Been a couple really great weeks of football, and it's reaching its crescendo right now.
Yeah, we were just talking about the play of Brock Purdy last week and how well the offense is humming right now, how good they're playing. The defense stabilized a bit at the end of the game last week after Phillip Rivers got him early on. But they're really going to have to prove themselves against two other playoff teams and really tough opponents in the Bears and Seattle. In terms of how the Niners are playing right now, do you think they're peaking? Do you think they're playing their best football of 2025 right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think, the defense has been hit or miss. As you mentioned, they're much better in the second half. When even against a guy who really couldn't throw the ball down the field, they just gave up too many plays in the first half against the Colts. But then the second half, they did give up only 10 points and then scored 7 points of their own on defense. But yeah, the offense is doing well. I think there's a concern though. I'm not sure Thomas Morstead is ready for the postseason. So I think they have to give him some work, maybe punt on third down a couple times just to keep him sharp. But no, I think they are playing well, and that's been the emphasis for Shanahan, is that it's one thing you're going to the playoffs. That was wrapped up last week, even before the Monday night game, and now it's a matter of just playing better and going into the postseason playing your best football, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take 2 or 3 really good games to get to where they want to get, which is stay in Levi's Stadium for the duration.
Matt, Adams said something earlier in the show, just when you look around the league and we've looked at different games, how do you really need
I completely disagree. I completely disagree with what Adams said.
We do,
and I don't even know. I don't even know what it was he said, but I can tell you I disagree already.
Which is why I wanted to ask you, because I just wanted you to prove that we should all be disagreeing with Adam at all times.
That's a pretty good standard. Yeah, my family lives by that too, I realized this week, yeah.
But I'll ask anyways, just for the fun of it, just in case there's like an off chance you agree. But he said that is this a year where maybe you don't have to have a great defense to go far in the playoffs? If you have a great offense, will that do it? Do you agree? Probably not, or disagree with that assessment? And do you think the 49ers are at a point where their offense can be that for them?
I hate to admit that. I think I do agree with him, because
there's a first time for everything.
If the line goes dead, you'll know why, because I just can't take. No, I think that first off, there aren't very many great defenses out there. I think that you can look at the Houston Texans. I mean, if it takes a great defense to do this, then the Houston Texans are your Super Bowl champs, probably. I'm not sure I'd put any other team really into that great defense category. I think the Rams have a lot of talent. Just trying to think who else. The Eagles have, they have the potential. Coming off of last season's Super Bowl championship year. But yeah, I think, it's just going to take the best of, the combination of offense and defense. And, the way the 49ers are, I think their offense kind of has the ability to compensate for their defense, not only in the fact that they're scoring a lot of points and they're simply, they haven't punted in, 21 possessions, but the 49ers, and Kyle Shanahan told me this last week. He said that he doesn't feel like the offense has the amount of team speed that it's had in the past, so they're not able to strike quickly or as quickly as maybe they have in previous seasons. But he said even though that's kind of fallen off, what is picked up is just they have a collection of guys who've been around and they know how to play the game. They know how to pick up first downs. They know how to get into the end zone. So, their third down conversion rate is very high. Their red zone conversion rate is very high, and they put together all these 10-plus play drives, all these drives that last 5 minutes or more, and typically they end those drives with touchdowns. And so, that serves the purpose of holding the ball, keeping their own defense off the field, but also putting up significant points. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting where, I wouldn't have said this 2 months ago, but, you look at the 49ers and you kind of go, well, I mean, they just kind of have as good a chance as anyone. There's not a dominant team out there. And of all seasons, certainly when Warner went down, I think everybody just, well, this isn't their year. And especially they went through that stretch of, losing, winning. They never lost 2 in a row. And for a while there, they never won 2 in a row. But now you kind of look at how this team has come together, I think is kind of underdogs and fighting and scratching for everything, and guys that you would not have thought in July and August would be playing significant roles. Those guys are, and they consequently they put themselves in a really good position to make a run, and they can do it, I think, without the dominant defense that the great Adam Copeland was referring to.
Yeah, it's tough. It's rare, but it happened there.
And the defense did step up and make some plays in the second half last week, including D. Winter's pick 6. But we were talking about contributions from some of the younger players like Alfred Collins and C.J. West, and I think Upton Stout played his best game. Talk about the evolution of the defense and what challenges Chicago Bears posed today.
Well, yeah, in another game with Darrell Luter at cornerback, so they've had to rely on these guys. And remember, Jair Brown was not a starter when the season began. It was Marquise Siegel and Jason Pinnock, and now they have 2 new starting safeties. We knew that Malik Mustafa would step into a starting role when he was ready, but they're kind of figuring this out as they go along. I think in this game, Caleb Williams isn't real consistent. He's not even completing 60% of his passes, but he is absolutely dynamic. So they have to just find a way to avoid the big play and make him work for everything, and keep him in the pocket. When he's on the run and can make those throws down the field, I mean, it's a sight to behold. And so a guy like Jair Brown and Mustafa and Upton Stout and the guys on the corners, they really have to stick with their guys, and they can't allow the big play because it just kind of looks like that's what Caleb Williams thrives under. So it's about playing sound. I think the rush lanes for the defensive line going to be very important to keep Caleb Williams contained inside the pocket and make him play quarterback, make him go through his progressions and limit his chances for those second reaction plays where he can throw the ball 60 yards off his back foot down the field and have his guys go make plays. So to me, this game is for the 49ers defense, make the Bears earn it, make them be the ones that have to put together long drives. And they're capable of it too, with that 2-headed running back monster that they have. But I think the 49ers defense just has to be very sound. And, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know exactly what their plan would be at middle linebacker, but, everything I've heard is that, the feeling is that everybody would be on the same page if Eric Kendricks were the middle linebacker, just because of his experience, 11 years in the NFL. He knows how to get guys lined up properly, and maybe that's something that the 49ers look into. I think Tatum Bethune has done very well, but is there room for improvement there? Would they dare go with the veteran guy? And they brought him here for a reason. If it meant that they feel more comfortable that everybody will be on the same page. So I know it's something that the coaching staff has talked a lot about. I don't know which way they're going to be leaning with that, but just something to keep an eye on. I think today would be, to see how they work that middle linebacker position.
Talking to Matt Mayoko, our 49ers insider from NBC Sports Bay Area. Matt, before we let you go, just a thought from you on Fred Warner. So he's going to be a part of the Football Night in America pregame show today at Levi Stadium.
Yeah.
He'll be in the stadium, and I think he'll be out at the stage with Tony Dungy and the guys before the game. I'm sure they're going to ask him about whether or not he would be able to return for a playoff run at some point. John Lynch was on KNBR last week on Friday and mentioned that the doctors, I guess, are impressed with thresholds that he's reached. It was more vague than that. But what was your read on Fred Warner and if there's a chance the Niners could get him back actually this year ahead of schedule?
Yeah, I have been under the belief, or just my thought would be, there's no way they're keeping Fred Warner off the field if the 49ers reach Super Bowl 60. No chance.
At Levi
He'll
Stadium,
be out
dude?
there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I talked to some people on Friday, and now I've kind of adjusted that. I think if they make the NFC Championship game, he'll be out there. That is very much on the table, that if the 49ers, because the NFC Championship game would be January 25th, still, it's 4 weeks from today. He's making a lot of progress. The risk of re-injuring it isn't as significant as you might think. There's a steel plate in there. The question is just, are the ligaments, pliable, strong enough, flexible? Does he have the range of motion in that ankle? But it is definitely trending in a positive direction toward, if the 49ers can extend their season and make a playoff run and get to the NFC Championship game, I'm telling you, it is wide open that Fred Warner could be out there.
That's incredible. Matt Mayoko, our 49ers insider from NBC Sports Bay Area. I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise. He played all of last year with like a broken bone in his ankle or something like that.
Exactly.
So if somebody could do it, it's Fred Warner. Matt, enjoy the game, man.
Yeah.
The game of the year tonight, Niners and the Bears, and we will talk to you soon.
Should be fun. Enjoy it.
Good deal there. The great Matt Mayoko, our insider from NBC Sports Bay Area. Let's get to the health report for the Niners, sponsored by your California Ford dealers. Visit buyfordnow.com to find your next truck or SUV. So we told you about some of the situations for the Niners as it related to George Kittle. Unlikely to play, though he's questionable. Ricky Pearsall, likely to play, though he's questionable. The true 50-50, and I don't think Kittle was ever a true 50-50. They were just not quite yet ruling him out. They did elevate Eric Kendricks from the practice squad, more linebacker depth, and they've elevated Braden Willis at tight end. Here's some of the other guys. Renardo Green, as you heard Matt say, is out still for this game. He's dealing with a neck injury, I think, still, right?
Yes, and it's a re-aggravated neck injury from earlier in the season. This will be
Right.
the second game he's missed with it. I hear neck, and that sounds concerning, but we'll see.
So he's been ruled out for today. Yetur Gross-Matos is a go. He was limited earlier this week. George Kittle, questionable, we told you. And then Sam O, no designation. And Trent Williams did go full practice the other day, a couple of rest days and whatnot. So for the Bears, what's interesting is they've had a bunch of guys crop up with the flu or some illness going through their locker room. So they've got Nick McLeod and Roma Dunze already ruled out for this. Now questionable, Josh Blackwell and Nashawn Wright, they did not practice Friday. Limited on Friday, TJ Edwards, he's questionable. Full practice Friday, CJ Gardner-Johnson, he's questionable, as is DJ Moore, Luke Newman, Darnell Wright, and Olmede Zacchaeus. So you've got like 3 receivers there who are questionable and one who's been ruled out already in Roma Dunze.
I would be shocked if those 3 receivers are not on the field to start the game.
I would be surprised too. This may be some gamesmanship here. Also, they're a big run team, and none of those guys mentioned.
I mean, I'm sure they actually have the flu, but I would.
You have to be
imagine-
pretty sick to not play this game.
Well,
Yeah, and
Darnell Wright, they flew him out here today. He didn't fly
right.
with the team. They
Right.
flew him out here today. They didn't fly him out here to watch on the sideline.
They
so
also probably were like, we don't want to fly him out and have him sit on the team plane with everybody else for the flight across the
didn't
country.
matter. They got sick of it. But I think you'll see those guys in the field. This is the kind of game. It's like what Matt was saying about Fred Warner. Like, this is the kind. You're not keeping those guys off the field. I don't care
It's
if
too
they're
big of
throwing
a
up on
game.
the sideline.
Yeah, this is what these guys have been playing for. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you. It's week 17 from Levi Stadium. The Niners and the Bears Sunday Night Football. John Lynch, we just talked about that. He joined the morning show on KNBR last Friday. We'll play that for you next to get you ready with the game plan for the Niners and the Bears. More to come on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you live from Levi Stadium, where the Niners are getting ready to take on the Chicago Bears, the game of the season to this point, and they all will be next week against the Seahawks, and then into the playoffs. Where will the Niners be seated? They can win out and still be the number one seed, but that'll start with a win against Chicago tonight, 5:20 right here on the Sports Leader. Let's get you the well, it's time for Building the Game Plan, sponsored by Golden State. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit us today at goldenstatelumber.com and by River Islands. Come home to River Islands in Lathrop and discover the San Joaquin River lifestyle with its lakes, parks, and schools. Start your tour today at riverislands.com. 49ers General Manager and President of Football John Lynch joined the KNBR Morning Show on Friday, and Carlos Ramirez actually opened it up to the audience to ask questions to John Lynch. And the first question for Lynch was, is Brock Purdy playing the best football of his career right now?
Well, Fitz, thanks for the question. He's playing at a really high level, I can tell you that. The hard thing with Brock is he's pretty much done that since he's been our starter here. He's played at a really high level. But I think all things considered, I'd say yes. I believe this streak we're on right now with efficiency, with playmaking, playing within the pocket, being able to extend and make plays down the field when he breaks the pocket. He's kind of got it all going on right now, and it's really fun to watch. So my answer would be yes, and that's a high standard because he's always been pretty good since he's become our starter.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to Jeff in San Jose, John. He wants to ask you, he says, checking in, not a question but a statement. He says, you and Kyle have done a phenomenal job with everything that's happened this year. I believe you both respectfully deserve Coach of the Year and Executive of the Year. How do you do it? He asks.
Well, I work with a really great organization, and I believe the best head coach in football. I really do, and I think he's put that on display this year. Kyle's been his X's and O's have always been really high level, and his leadership has as well. But I think that's even ascended another level. And I think, those are the guys that are in front of the team each day. We're blessed with tremendous leaders in terms of our players, but the guy up in front of the team each day is the head coach. And Kyle's just done a tremendous job with the attitude. He never blinked. It's hard when you lose a Fred Warner, when you lose a Nick Bosa, when you lose a Michael Williams, when you lose Brock Purdy early in the year, when the first game when you lose George Kittle. I mean, a lot has gone on this year, and he just never blinked. And he held the standard even when other people went in and played, and the expectations were the same. So I think Kyle schematically has always been really good. I think he's been tremendous this year, and I believe he deserves that award. And find it hard to believe that he never has won it.
Which is a great. I'm going to pause the fan question for a second there, John, because John Lynch joining us live here on the show. I don't know what to make of the significance of the award, John, because a couple of days ago we were talking about this. Kyle hasn't won the award. Belichick won it 3 times. Kyle's dad never won the award too. Mike Tomlin has never won the award. So what does it really say about this? What does it mean?
I don't know what it means. I mean, I could tell you all those guys would prefer other things, winning championships, all those things, and have. But I do think all of those guys have been deserving at some point during their career. I know Kyle certainly has been, and I believe this year would be a tremendous year. So, we'll see where that goes. There's a lot of really good head coaches in this league. I don't think anyone's coached better than Kyle.
I agree with that. This is from Michael Catanzaro from Old Greenwich in Connecticut. John, we got a question from all over the country. He's asking you, my question for John Lynch, if the 49ers make it to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, is Fred Warner active? Is he in game to come back?
Well, here's what I would say first. We're really focused on the Bears right now, and that's because we need to continue to improve as a team. We need to continue to sharpen our edge and our as we get going into these playoffs, and we need to. Right now, we're playing for seeding and all that to try to make the path a little bit more favorable for us. So. But what I can tell you is Fred's been working incredibly hard. He's been attacking it in every which way, and he's making really good progress. I've said this consistently. It would be well ahead of the original timeline that we were given, but Fred is kind of even, has the ability to move the doctors because they're going to put, objective measurements out there where, hey, well, if you can reach these, you can get there, and Fred has continually done that. I think it's made a lot of people kind of re-examine, okay, would this be possible? And I think that's a great thing. So I'm watching him. I've consistently said it. I won't put anything past him, and I think it's a thing that will remain to be seen. But I know he's putting his heart and soul and his incredible work ethic to work every single day in an effort to do that.
I found this is a funny one, John. Brian in Forestville. He says, after watching Phillip Rivers out there on Monday, how tough is it for you not to strap them on and go back out there and lay some wood on somebody? Be honest now.
Well, first of all, I'm 10 years older than Phillip Rivers. He's a great friend, but I'm 54, not 44. And I play a position where you got to move. I mean, Phillip, he stayed in that pocket, and God bless him. I mean, he was getting rid of that ball so quick, but he really he had me nervous going into that game, and then the game starts, and he was on he was on a heater, man. He was calling plays at the line of scrimmage. He was getting people wide open, and he was throwing the ball long. I mean, I don't care what pass rush you had, the ball was gone. So, it's incredible what he's been able to do. But no, I can tell you though, I think NFL players, retired NFL players all over this country are waking up each day and going, man, you think I could? I heard Steve Young, and I wouldn't put it past Steve Young. Steve keeps himself in great shape, but the thing with Steve is Steve used to move around a little bit. Phillip never did, and so I don't think it's that much different for Phillip. And but he has a lot of people asking that question to themselves. I know that.
Yeah, absolutely. This game, let's focus on the game on Sunday, John, for a second here. Some people think the key is to stopping the run. I mean, what they've done with Swift and Monangai, it's tremendous. That offensive line rebuild has been phenomenal. Some people think it's containing Caleb Williams in the pocket, and some people think it's a combination of both in terms of how the defense can stop the offense. Where do you see the key in that Bears offense, 49er defense matchup on Sunday?
Yeah, I think it's probably the latter. It's all of the above. Their run game is really good. It's extremely efficient. It's extremely physical. Swift is a tough runner, but probably has more breakaway type ability to his game. But Monangai, 7th round pick, and man, they really hit on him. He runs hard. He runs physically. He carries the pile. They're really built to run the ball and run the ball well. I think the overwhelming thing with this team right now, Caleb is playing at a high level, making a lot of plays down the field. But when you are winning the turnover battle like they have all year long. I think that's the real key to this game. It's protecting the football, it's taking it away, and not allowing them to do that, because they've done it better than anybody in our league this season. And when you put those things together, I mean, they're 10-0 when they win the turnover margin. It speaks pretty clear. So that's a big challenge for us, and they're really good at winning it this year. So we've got to protect the football, and we've got to be able to take it away, and against a team who's done it better than anybody this season.
Absolutely. John Lynch with us live here on the show. Let's go back to the text line and some questions from the fans. They just keep pouring in, John. I mean, I can't keep track of how many questions fans are asking you today. This is George in Scotts Valley. He asks you, Brand Boyer has done a tremendous, outstanding job in every phase in her special teams. He says, I can't remember ever looking forward to a kickoff return this much to see what great field position we're going to get. The question is, all of those things have literally translated into victories. Are there other people, aside from Brand Boyer, you can credit on the coaching staff or the front offense for the great turnaround in special teams?
Oh, there's so many. I think, first of all, Brant's assistants, Colt Anderson came with Brant this offseason. Colt was a long-time special teams demon in the league when he played, and had been leading the Tennessee Titans and their special teams unit. And then Ronnie Blair, a familiar face and name. Ronnie played D-line for us, and we always thought Ronnie would be a tremendous coach, and got his shot and on the special team side with us, and Ronnie's doing a tremendous job. So I think that coaching staff in general, when you look at our staff in the personnel world, I think R.J. Gillen, Josh Williams, Tarek Ahmad, all those guys working along with our coaching staff to get the right personnel, and it's all been clicking. And you make a trade. We're injured at receiver, but we also see an opportunity to add a guy who's a dynamic kickoff returner, and the kickoff return is a much bigger part of our game with the dynamic kickoff. And Sky Moore has been a godsend for us. You could see right from the start, it didn't translate right away, but every kick you felt like, man, he's on the cusp of busting this one, because he hits it so aggressively. Yeah. Because he has the strength, he has the will. It's been a really a team effort, and we got to keep that going into the playoffs, and most importantly, this weekend against the Bears. Absolutely.
This is a great question, because we actually got two fans texting the exact same question, so I'm going to just jumble them together. Ted from Jacksonville, Oregon asks, how do we keep, he says we, not me, how do we keep Robert Saleh in the 49er organization for a long time? And I'm guessing, John, everyone that sees you either in the supermarket or in a restaurant, I'm guessing this question gets asked to you pretty frequently.
Yeah, I can tell the fans this is we share that sentiment. However, there's a human nature to this whole deal, and Robert has big aspirations. He always has. I think, I don't want to speak for Robert, but I think he'll probably be more choosy this time in terms of where, not just going to go coach anywhere. He probably wants a really good situation because he has one here, and we're blessed to have Robert. But at some point, you got to understand that you have to allow people to go chase their dreams. Now, we can make it very attractive for him to stay, and we plan on doing that. But we're fortunate to have Robert. He does a tremendous job, and we're just going to enjoy the ride right now, and then we'll take care of that, when it presents itself.
Yeah. John Lynch joining us here on the show. A couple of more questions. The fans' questions are done. They sent a ton. Some of them were repeated, so we're just going to filter those out. Listen, this game is massive, John, on Sunday Night Football, and this team has been able to muster 6 fourth-quarter comebacks this season. And this quarterback, Caleb Williams, does not seem to blink late. When you see a team that does what they do, what does that tell you from the Bears?
They've got great belief in their entire team. I believe the stat I saw, right after their game ended last week was I think it's the only team in since the 1970 merger or whatever that has overcome fourth quarter deficits inside of 2 minutes 6 times. It's like unheard of. And so that just tells you, every week we talk about it being a 60-minute game. Well, it never has it been more true. This is a team you have to finish. I mean, you're watching that game last week against the Packers, and it's like at one point they're under less than 1% chance, and they get an onside kick. Nobody, gets an onside kick in today's rules. Oh, they got an onside kick. They go down, they launch one, and they next thing you know, they're winning. And so I think you gotta play for 60 minutes. You got to finish everything we do, and we go compete. And we're looking forward to doing that.
All right, John, thank you so much for the time. Merry Christmas, Merry belated Christmas. You're doing a great job. Love talking to you, and we'll see you Sunday. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we'll see George suit up for the Bears game, all right?
Thank you, Carlos, and all the fans. We need this place rocking Sunday night. It's a huge game, and we gotta show up and let the Bears hear us, and it should be a fun one.
Live from Levi Stadium, Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you, and we'll do a big reveal here on the video stream. Joining us in studio, It's the great Larry Krueger. Larry Krueger joins us ahead of Week 17, the Niners and the Bears. What's going on, Krueger? How you doing, bro?
Oh man, happy holidays to you guys. Great to see you all. And man, I'm a little excited, a little nervous tonight because I think this Bears team is really, really good. And I want to, we got a lot of news between now and kickoff that I'm waiting on. Is Darnell Wright going to play for the Bears? Is DJ Moore going to play for the Bears? Is George Kittle going to play for the Niners? It's a huge...
yes, no. I think we've got an answer. I'm going to go yes, no on those. Yeah.
Darnell Wright flew across country this morning, and he's going to play tonight.
He did not fly across country to not play tonight.
Yeah. I mean,
he's going to sit there.
So he's a huge guy because they run behind him. He's their road grading right tackle, and there's a lot of big. Can the Niner defense stand up against this Bears offense? Can the Bears defense stand up to Brock Purdy and the Niner run game? I think there's reasons to believe that this could be a high-scoring game.
Is this game more about the Niner run game or the Niner pass game? Because this is a team, by the way, in the Bears who have turned it over through the air on interceptions 21 times, more than anybody in the NFL this year. They're plus 21 on turnover margin. I think they forced 12 fumbles and recovered 8 of them or something like that. But is it about the run game for the Niners tonight? Because it was good last week against Indy, but it has not been their calling card this year.
Well, the Niners have been running it better, that's for sure. I mean, and I think there's potential in this game to run it at the Bears and have success. If you look at the last 2 months, the Bears have really struggled to stop the run, and they're giving up over 5 yards a carry. So I would say you're going to see a lot of the 49er run game. But to me, if you said, what's this game about? I think this game is about Brock Purdy and can he take care of the football. He's been doing a great job of it, but he also has 3 multi-interception games and 7 starts. He's going up against a team that has 21 interceptions. So I think it's about Brock Purdy and how well he can take care of the football. I think it's a lot about Ricky Pearsall. I think this could be the Ricky Pearsall game that we're waiting for because the Bears play with Dennis Allen. They mix it up front. They play a ton of man coverage on the back end. Ricky is your man beater. And he's shown when he's right, he can be really good. They need him tonight, especially if Kittle's out, to be a major factor.
Brock Purdy trending in the right direction. So you say taking care of the football last week. That was as good as we've seen him certainly all season. He seems to be healthy the way he moved both inside and outside the pocket. Is that the core? I made the point earlier. Is that who he is, the guy that we saw last week, or was that maybe above what he's capable of doing week in and week out?
Well, we look at everything with, based on like the results. But if you go back and watch the game again, that first pass in the first quarter to Kittle down the middle, that easily could have been picked off by about 3 different defenders. If it's picked off there, maybe it's a different night. Instead, Kittle attacks that ball in the air and makes a huge play. So, Brock's still going to throw a couple 50-50 balls out there. He's still going to throw the ball. He's going to take chances in small windows, and he's going to give his guys a chance to make plays. But that also means putting the ball in harm's way. The good news here tonight is that both of the Bears starting corners are giving up a completion percentage like around 60%. So you can go against these corners. I think Purdy might have a big night.
Let's pretend there is no George Kittle, just for argument's sake, and I don't want to upset you, but I feel like there's not going to be George Kittle tonight. How much of a difference does that make? Because you bring up that pass, and you're right. If he's not throwing it to Kittle, who knows who catches it? Probably someone wearing blue on Monday night. So how much of a difference and how much of a concern is that with no George Kittle? I'd say a big one, but I'm asking you.
Well, I mean, it's funny, Tracy. I think it's both not a concern and a huge concern. I don't think it's a big concern in the pass game. Tonjes, the Bears give up 7.5 receptions per game to the tight end spot. Edwards, the linebacker's hurt. He had a glute injury, didn't practice late in the week. He's not 100%. I love Tonjes in this game. I think Tonjes could have a huge game. Now, that part of Kittle's role, I think, could be filled. Mm-hmm. The Niners only have 1 rushing touchdown this year without George Kittle. And can the 49ers run the ball against a Bears defense that on paper looks to be challenged and run defense without George? And that means maybe Luke Farrell. Maybe that means maybe some juice at tight end. But that Braden Willis got the elevation. So they're going to miss George, I think, much more in the run game.
I agree.
On the defensive side, they came out and really shut down Jonathan Taylor last week against the Colts and forced Phillip Rivers to beat him, which he could not consistently. He got off to a good start, but then the defense stepped up. Are you expecting a similar approach, shut down the run game and see what Caleb Williams can do, or are they going to play a little softer and maybe not attack Caleb Williams as much?
Well, it's interesting. I kind of wonder. I haven't talked to Saul about this, but I get the feeling that part of the Niners' game plan defensively is let's see if other teams will make mistakes and fall behind the chains, and it's worked to their advantage a couple times. So in this game, the Bears run it really well. They run Swift really well outside. They run Monangi really well inside. And they're going to run it at the Niners and test that run defense. But I also think, unlike last week against Rivers, Caleb's going to go down the field. He's got some receivers. Even if DJ Moore's out, even if Zacchaeus is out, they've got Luther Burden. He's the number 1 run after the catch receiver in pro football right now. They're going to go to him. They're going to go downfield, and they got another kid named Walker who made a great catch in the back of the end zone last week against Green Bay. They're going to challenge the Niner corners down the field, and the Niners, I think, are going to be defined in this game by how well they defend the deep bomb, and can they stay poised with the ball in the air, or is it a parade of flags? I think 49ers are going to be okay because they really compete on all 3 levels of their defense, but I think you're going to see some big plays, and I think this game is going to be wild. I really do.
Sounds like Ricky Pearsall is going to go, per Adam Schefter. He said it seemed unlikely that Kittle would go and likely that Pearsall will go. When he played, was it 3 weeks ago, he had his best game of the season. What do you need to see from him today, and how does he affect the offense and it looking different? Because we've been talking a ton about how DeMarcus Robinson's the only receiver with a touchdown now, a wide receiver with a touchdown reception that's not Juwan Jennings. You want Ricky to find the end zone. You've been saying it for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, tonight is the matchup to watch. If you're on the upper deck, you got the binoculars, whatever. It's C.J. Gardner-Johnson as the nickel corner going up against the Niners' speed there, and that could be any number of guys, and I imagine Ricky's going to be one of those guys. I think that's a major advantage for the 49ers. I love C.J. Gardner-Johnson. He's a violent player inside the box, and he will kill you. I mean, he will knock your block off, but he wrenched his knee last week. He didn't show up on the injury report, but if you watch the film, it's clearly there. I don't think he's 100%. Green Bay went at him 12 times last week, and he gave up 10 catches and like 5 first downs and a couple touchdowns. So I think Kyle Shanahan goes at C.J. Gardner-Johnson in the passing game down the field, and I think that's where the Niners win big.
We are an hour and 20 minutes into the show, and I have yet to bring up Colston Loveland of the University of Michigan. Larry, what do you see from Colston, and why is he so amazing?
Well, I mean, he's just, I don't know if he's as amazing as Tyler Warren, who they took him over Tyler Warren.
Give him time.
Yeah, but Loveland is a basketball player build, and he's just a huge guy with great movement ability. He was super blue chipper at Michigan, great hands, great movement ability, maybe even a better mover than Tyler Warren. And he's had at least 3 catches, I think, in 10 straight games, and the Niners have struggled to defend the tight end. To me, if you said, what is my biggest concern for the 49ers just beyond tonight, just period, it's not the offensive line, it's not the pass rush, it's the Niners linebackers' ability to cover the tight end and the backs. To me, Bethune was a step slow last week. Kendricks is a terrific run defender, first and second down. Numbers say that he can't do it in coverage anymore. Gifford is not a coverage player. They have the best coverage guy. His name's Fred. Unfortunately, he's out, but the guys behind him, somebody is going to have to step up at linebacker and play coverage. Ben Johnson's a genius at isolating these guys. I would say he's going to get the Niner linebackers ISO'd in pass coverage tonight and hunt for their own big plays, and that's my big concern.
Yeah, 2 of the best coaches in the NFL matching up tonight, in Shanahan and Johnson, and creating those matchups. And we discussed earlier, Coach of the Year candidates, and give me your top 3 or 4 right now in the NFL.
Coach of the Year candidates? Well, I mean, to me, I'm living this, right? So I'm going to go with Kyle Shanahan as far as he should have gotten it in other years.
I knew that's where you were going to go, dude. I knew you were going to go.
I'm just a homer. No, but I mean, Kyle Shanahan has when you look at everything, the recommitment to special teams, saying goodbye to all these veteran players, bringing in a huge draft class and all the different things that go along with this, the injuries, not having Ayuk. I mean, if you told me early that Ayuk, DeMarcus Robinson, Ricky Pearsall would have like 3 or 4 less touchdowns than Tonjes as we were approaching New Year's Eve, I'd been like, oh my gosh, it's a nightmare. But instead, they found a way to do it offensively, defensively. They've gotten better on special teams. So Shanahan would get my vote. for Coach of the Year. Then I would go with Vrabel. I think they were 4-13. Not only that, during the bye week, I read some article back there that like 50 different guys showed up at the facility. So he's changed the culture there. And then I would go with Ben Johnson. I mean, I don't know about his good, better, best, high school Harry, take off your shirt thing. But you know what?
It's working.
It's working. And this guy's got an intensity. He reminds me a lot of Jimmy Johnson. He's just intense, and he's the kind of guy that would literally cut you if you fell asleep in a meeting, and he's dialed up the Bears. So him and Ryan Poles. So I would say those are the guys at the top.
Talking to Larry Krueger here, just a thought on Caleb Williams. We saw him last year. He took over 60 sacks last season. He's only been sacked 23 times this year. His numbers aren't spectacular. He's only thrown 6 interceptions to 23 touchdowns, but his road numbers are different than his home numbers. He's thrown 5 of his 6 picks on the road this year. His yards per pass are about a yard shorter on the road this year. His QB rating drops 18 points. His passer rating drops 18 points on the road this year. What have you seen from him, and what do you think about this odd home road splits for a second-year QB?
Well, I mean, I think that if you're a Bears fan, you should feel really good because he's on the right path and he's going to get there, but I don't think he's there yet. But I think he's going to get there. He's a big time playmaker. He can extend plays and put a lot of pressure on the defense. The one stat that I saw this week is that when he runs, his completion percentage is 25%. So he does not complete a lot of passes on the run. If he's going to run, he's probably going to run. He's not going to throw on the run.
He's completing less than 60% of his passes anyway.
And we did see him make that amazing highlight throw on the run recently. So it's like, whoa, maybe the numbers lie. But I don't think so. I don't think he's accurate if you flush him. I'd like to see the Niners pressure him in the A gap and flush him out of the pocket and almost intentionally. And let's see if he can make some accurate throws on the run. The other thing I think is interesting is if the Niners can stop the run like they did last week against Taylor, and he doesn't have DJ Moore, and he doesn't have Rome Odunze, does he have the weaponry to make those big plays, or does he get frustrated? He hasn't turned it over. I mean, that's amazing. He's a young quarterback who doesn't turn it over, so he plays with a ton of poise and a lot of confidence. Somehow the Niners have to flip this script. The Bears get turnovers. They don't turn it over. If that trend continues, they're going to win tonight. If the Niners can reverse that trend and the Niners can get the turnovers and they can hold on to the ball, I think the 49ers are the better team and will prevail.
Just add this real quick here with Caleb in terms of the home and road splits. Of his 23 sacks, 16 of them have been on the road.
Wow.
So maybe communication and noise is a problem for him.
Well, that is interesting. And young players don't necessarily adapt well on the road. So, we'll see. Maybe that's advantage 49ers. You always get the feeling that the home crowd will benefit you. I think Lynch said it in the interview, and you guys heard it just a few minutes ago. The Niners need their fans to show up and show out and be loud and turn Sunday night into a house of horrors here at Levi's for Chicago. I think the fans can have a huge impact in this thing.
You made the comment about frustrating him. I think Caleb Williams is an emotional player, and if he doesn't get off to a good start, I think you could see that frustration show with some bad decisions and throwing the ball into traffic.
Yeah.
Let's do the player to bank on, sponsored by Casino Matrix. Just drop in for gaming, dining, sports. Please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER, and by Pacific Service Credit Union. Earn a $400 cash bonus for opening an account and setting up a direct deposit of $500 or more. Sign up at pacificservice.org/my400. Larry, you always get this wrong, but who's your player to bank on?
I know, seriously. Well, I always go with a wide receiver, and I was thinking going with Ricky Pearsall, but I won't jinx him since I have been wrong. I'm going to go.
I think it was right last week. I think you called DeMarcus last week or 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to go with my man, Jake Tonjes. I just call it joke my man. I didn't go to Cal or anything, but he's a good guy.
Status is finest.
He's a Bay Area guy. And you know what? We all saw Jake Tonjes last week in reality have the greatest play of his life.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't get any credit for it. And he's not the kind of guy who would say anything about it. He's the kind of guy that's just like, hey, man, we won the game and it's all cool. And, he's not bitter. Maybe to his buddies or whatever when he's golfing, he's bitter, but he's not bitter. And what we saw, though, is a high-level receiver. And I don't think the Bears can cover him tonight. And I like Tonjes to have a bust-out night. This is his... Everybody's Googling Jake Tonjes at the end of the night. He'll be trending by about 11 o'clock.
I saw in fantasy a lot of people who were in their championship games were facing George Kittle, they were picking up Tonjes so that their opponent couldn't have a guy to play in place of Kittle tonight. It's tough if you're waiting to
dirty,
find out,
actually.
It's tough if you're waiting to find out the news on Kittle and you've been waiting all day and now you find out it's unlikely that he's going to go tonight. Larry Krueger, the voice you hear, Niners Nightly, every night, 6 to 7, The Krug Show. We'll see you upstairs, Krug.
Sounds good.
Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler with you. The Niners and the Bears coming your way at 5:20. We will still go up to the broadcast booth. We'll talk to Guy Haberman, who will be on the call today. When we come on back, how big has special teams been for the 49ers? Todd Husak has his Hugh stat next on The Sports Leader.
Rivers out of the shotgun, takes the snap. Quick throw over the middle, intercepted. D. Winters has got it. D. Winters going the other way. Winters to the 40, the 25-30. No one's going to touch him. Nothing but the taillights. It's a pick six. 49ers.
Pick City, baby. First pick six of the year, and D. Winters was all over that.
That was D. Winters last week, a 74-yard pick six for a touchdown. The game was already in hand at that point, but that put him at 48 points for the 49ers as they hammered the Indianapolis Colts last week. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, and Tracy Sandler with you, getting ready for the last game of Sunday afternoon. It'll be Sunday evening, a 5:20 kickoff right here with Tim Ryan and Guy Haberman on the call. Niners and the Bears both at 11-4. I said to you earlier in the show, Todd, one of the things that surprised me the most, or that I didn't anticipate becoming a strength of this Niner team, has been the offensive line play. Dominic Puni early in the year seemed like he wasn't up to the same level he was at last year when he was a rookie and took the starting job at right guard. And then there was Trent Williams, who early on there were questions about, like, is he just rusty? Is it because he didn't play in the preseason? Or is he maybe just starting to show signs of aging? And I don't think any of that is true to this point. The other thing that has been as surprising, and this is all part of the Hughes stat, is the play of the special teams, where if you're a 49er fan or have followed the 49ers even since the Harbaugh era, you would think this is a franchise that does not know under any head coach how to operate special teams. And I think Kyle would tell you, I just need to give it to somebody who knows how to handle it. And Brant Boyer has done a great job. You talked about the field position or starting field position on average for the Niners.
So number one, they are number one in the NFL in average starting field position past their 33-yard line.
Yeah.
So they are getting it done on kick returns. And it's not just that. They started off the game hot against Arizona with the Sky Moore kick return all the way down to the one. Then the turnover last week against the Colts. They're making big plays. And Kyle Shanahan mentioned it in his press conference earlier this week. He just wanted to be at 0. Like, don't lose games for us. Be solid in the kicking. Like, make your field goals and extra points and don't give up big plays. All of a sudden, they're making big plays, and they're not giving up plays on the other side. So this is now a huge strength for the 49ers, and they need it because their defense has not been creating turnovers. So when the special teams can step up and create that field position, and we haven't seen Morstead, but he's been solid this year, and Pinheiro has been awesome. We know what his range is. It's 63.5 yards because that one doinked from 64 right up the crossbar.
Do you feel good that he's got one miss now? Like, I was getting a little anxious about how long the streak was going to go, because it just makes me think about what's his name in the 99 NFC Championship game for the Vikings. Who was that? Who missed that kick? Morton Anderson.
Yeah, Morton Anderson.
Was it Gary or Morton? I think it was Gary Anderson.
Maybe it was Gary.
I think
Anderson.
it was Gary.
Yeah.
It was an Anderson.
He was the
one of the
right-footed.
Andersons,
Yeah. Morton was left-footed.
But he didn't miss like all year, and then he misses that one.
The one they needed. But the special teams has been a huge strength for the 49ers. And so all of a sudden, and by the way, I'm going through some of these other stats. Niners are second in the league in average plays per drive. Almost, they're 6.5 plays per drive. They're top 5 in time of possession per drive and yards per drive. So they've been super efficient. Part of that is third down conversions, which they are one of the best teams in the NFL at 50%. But if you look at their numbers, it's hard to find things where they're at the top or near the top.
Yeah.
And in fact, they're near the bottom in some of the stats, like yards per carry, like big stats.
They're 5th in passing yards per game. They're 9th in points per game. They're like tops on third down, like you were talking about. They're top 10 on red zone conversion for touchdowns, but that's kind of it.
They're -4 in turnovers on the season, and really, really good teams usually excel in those certain categories. But I've mentioned before, they've pieced it together on offense with some guys that maybe weren't expected. A lot of backups played, especially early in the season. Right now, they're healthy. They're hitting their stride. Hopefully, we'll see what Kittle can do today. But Brock Purdy, with him in charge, I'm feeling really good about this offense and where they're going.
They're doing more with less. I mean, they really are. They've done it all season long. Part of that is the league this year, so it's possible to do that. But a lot of that is them. And I know we talked Coach of the Year briefly. I'm a huge Kyle Shanahan for Coach of the Year stan, and I'm not a homer, so I feel like there's that. But I think what he's done with his team is amazing. He probably won't get it because people will say, well, he has Christian McCaffrey and it has George Kittle. They'll look at all that, even though Kittle's missed, a fair number of games here. But they are doing more with less, and they are, like you said, Todd, they're piecing it together, and here they are. I mean, after that Tampa game, Juwan Jennings is yelling at Kyle Shanahan on the sideline. Fred Warner is out. They'd already lost Bosa. Mac Jones is in at quarterback. We don't know when Pearsall's coming back. You don't know when Brock Purdy's coming back. Would you say that in Week 17 they would control their destiny for the 1 seed in the NFC? No.
The expectations change based on what's happening around the league, too, Todd.
And one of the things Kyle Shanahan should get more credit for is hiring great assistants. It's not easy to lose top assistants year after year, which he's done. Look at what happened in Detroit. They lose their offensive defensive coordinator. They are not the same team. Kyle has created a culture where he hires really smart people, grows them, they go off to have success. But he's also created culture. Like Saleh wanted to come back. Yeah. And that's not always the case with assistant coaches, certainly top assistant coaches, where they come back and thrive under Shanahan. So he's created a culture that is from top to bottom with Lynch and ownership. They are allowing people to be really, really good at their job. both on the coaching staff, and he gets the most out of his players.
That's what's on deck, sponsored by TimberTech Decking and Railing, #1 in premium decking. Order free samples at timbertech.com. Adam Copeland, Tracy Sandler, Todd Husak with you. John Dickinson, JD, super reporter, boots on the ground. He's here. His boots are on the ground. He'll join us next talking about the meeting behind this game and what happened around the league today. We can talk about what that means for the Niners going into next week as Seattle won their game today against Carolina. Now Carolina plays a win-or-go-home next week against the Buccaneers. More to come with John Dickinson from Levi Stadium. Niners and the Bears at 5:20 on the Sports Leader. Live from Levi Stadium, Adam Copeland, Todd Husak, Tracy Sandler, joined now ahead of Sunday Night Football between the Niners and the Bears by John Dickinson, super reporter, boots on the ground with us here at Levi Stadium. JD, what's up, bro?
What's going on, everybody? Great to be with you. Happy holidays. The lost week of every year, right? That year between the Christmas holiday and New Year's, but not lost in the NFL and not lost for the 49ers. This is the biggest game on the docket, and it's going to be exciting.
Well, and so far things are playing out for the Niners the way we kind of anticipated they would. Seattle handled business today. They won against Carolina, and Carolina and Tampa now play a win-or-go-home game next week for the NFC South title. and that'll lock them into to the number 4 seed, whoever wins that game. The Niners, though, still control their own destiny. So in terms of how things have played out in the last couple of weeks, we saw that big offensive explosion between the Rams and Seattle last Thursday. Then the Niners answered with their own offensive blow-up, 48 points on Monday Night Football. What can be learned about this game? I mean, to me, this is a iron sharpening iron type of game for the Niners and the Bears, trying to solidify playoff stature and build momentum into January.
I think it's a good test for both teams just as to how good each team is, honestly. I mean, I think the Bears obviously have had a bunch of heroics this year against varying degrees of opponent, including the game that wound up flipping the NFC North in their favor when they came back late and were able to beat the Packers at home. But you look at them heading toward this one, they know they're the NFC North champions now based on everything that happened last night, but they've still got eyes on the 2, potentially the 1, depending upon how things shake out. And the 49ers, I think, are continuing along the lines of, well, they've handled everybody that's been in front of them, and now let's see how they fare against a team that currently comes in number 2 in the NFC, and then potentially how they fare next week against Seattle, a team that comes in at 1 of the NFC. It didn't get more difficult than that in terms of who's done what this season. So I think it's a great test and a barometer, really, for where both of these teams are at.
I remember early in the season, you had mentioned this team's culture and chemistry as feeling a lot different than a year ago. It's a weird offseason with contract disputes, and even with some early season injuries, this team seemed to be in a different headspace. Have you seen that continue to grow and evolve throughout the season?
I think so, and I know, Tracy, we've talked about this at different points. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's openly acknowledged the fact that they basically took a step back in their approach in terms of, this isn't Super Bowl or bust. It's more about be the best you can be each week and try to get better. And I think they removed some of that pressure that had been on this team, really going back probably 21, 22, 23, and 24, and said, hey, like, this team, not to say that they aren't good enough to get on a run, and I think they've proven over the last 5 games that they are, and they may very well continue to do that tonight and next week and on into the playoffs. But removing, Tracy, some of the pressure of, if you don't get to the Super Bowl, the entire thing is a failure. When you then see Nick Bosa and Fred Warner go down, like, if you believe that, I think we might be seeing a little of that with the Packers, who were all, I mean, Micah Parsons goes away, other guys start dropping like flies for them, and all of a sudden you're like, is this team fighting? This team, like, watching Green Bay last night, it's like, wow, are they just done? So to me, removing those expectations, Tracy, is been extremely beneficial toward this team building its own identity, which is different, separate from the identities of some of those teams that had that burden, that weight of, if you don't get all the way to the Super Bowl, the whole thing's a failure.
And I think we saw that after Fred Warner got injured. I mean, the day he got injured, that was obviously a very somber locker room. By the time you got to practice Wednesday, obviously they were upset. They were losing their leader. But it was a very next man up mentality. And I think this year, we're seeing the next man up mentality in practice and not just in words, because I think they've said it in the past. They've dealt with injuries for years and years, but we've seen it actually play out. And I think back to something Kyle Shanahan always says before the playoffs, that it's not the best team. It's the team that plays the best for 3.5 hours. And it's like he took that philosophy and put it in the regular season, and it has really worked for them. And you're right. When you think like that, when you lose guys as hard as it is, you just keep going, and that has worked for them. It's a really good point with the Packers. I mean, there's all this pressure on LaFleur. They haven't been to a Super Bowl, all the things. And you're right. It does kind of look like they've given up. The 49ers are the opposite. So I would agree with that.
And Trent Williams mentioned this in the locker room, Copes, a couple of weeks ago, the fact that when you lose guys, and this has been true throughout his career, he called it a period of mourning that a team will go through for not having a big guy, and it takes a couple of weeks to kind of, okay, this is the team now, this is how we have to operate, this, and then eventually you work yourself hopefully into a rhythm where you believe the team that you have is capable of a certain level of play. And I think we're seeing that maybe that level is higher than anybody could have expected going all the way back to the middle of October. But the credit to them, because they're doing it. They're finding ways to do it on defense enough here and there. And the offense, I think, going back to Monday night in Indy, to me, that's the template for the last 2 weeks and the playoffs. Not necessarily score every possession, but try to score on every possession and set the tone that way.
I sort of feel like this game has to go, and we're talking to John Dickinson here, has to go similarly to the way that Indy went in terms of how fast you start. We were talking earlier, I had a note on the opening drive defense of the Chicago Bears, and it's that they've allowed, here it is, the Bears haven't allowed an opening drive score in 7 consecutive games and have given up an NFL low 10 points on opening drives this year. The Niners have 5 touchdowns and 1 field goal on 7 opening drives with Brock Purdy. I feel like this game is a shootout, but I also think if the Niners start as fast as they did last week, I don't know that the Bears behind the arm of Caleb Williams have enough to get back into it. I mean, they're a dangerous team. They're an explosive team. He doesn't have to throw the ball downfield for them to get big chunk plays because of the guys out of the backfield. But if you can try to, I mean, you really want to do what you did last week in bottling Jonathan Taylor. If you can stop their run game, Swift and Monanga out of the backfield, and you force Caleb Williams to beat you, I think this is a game the Niners could win by 2 scores. I think it's a shootout if you allow them to get the run game going and start fast offensively. If the Niners start fast and don't turn it over, I think it's going to be tough for the Bears to stay in it.
The Bears have been dependent on the turnovers. So I think you're right.
It's a tough way to live.
It's fast start, don't turn it over. The Bears offensively, Todd, we were talking about, they have not been a fast-starting team offensively, but they've also been a team they've lived the charm life this year. Like, there's always one team every year where just whatever they need to happen in a moment that they need it to happen happens. And sometimes I always think, like, when you're an opponent playing a team like that, you're part of their story a little bit, so you need to extra try to avoid those situations. And I think the Bears could come back. Like, the Bears have been, not a great offensive team in the middle of some games, and then Caleb Williams gets it going, the running game gets it going, they start to kind of take the game over as the game, and then they just build up a head of steam, and they're tough to stop. So I think they're in the game regardless, but I also think you have to manage the game to get off to that fast start, and then just don't turn it over. And if you don't do that, then I think there's opportunities against this defense to put up points where maybe they can't match it.
Well, I think a fast start for the 49ers puts extra pressure on the Bears, and that's where maybe that could lead to some mistakes and Caleb Williams trying to do too much. I think the pass rush will be important in disrupting him a little bit. And Larry was in here and made a great point, where the DBs are going to be tested. Caleb Williams likes to throw it down the field.
Yes, they go deep.
And see if those corners can hold up, if they're up to the challenge.
It's also, would you guys agree, keep him in the pocket. You want to keep him in the pocket. You don't want him to get off and be making the off schedule type stuff as well. So this is where maybe, the lack of a rush, as long as you can keep him contained, maybe can work to your advantage.
Well, Krug did just have a great note that when he's on the run, throws on the run, his completion percentage is 25%.
Wow. Okay.
But he said you got to make sure he's making a throw on the run. You don't want him to get out and beat you with his legs, because really that's how it's going.
But those 25% could be big plays.
Sure.
Yes.
So I think the pass rush, not so much the edges, create some pressure up the middle. Be secure on the edges. Don't let him escape. If they can push back the interior of the pocket, that'll be the key.
And again, he's been bad worse on the road. 16 of his 23 sacks have come when he's on the road. So
it's an interesting, JD, going back to what you said, they seem to have been living a charmed life, and you become part of their story. I actually think both of these teams, and people have said it, have this quote unquote team of destiny thing. It's an interesting matchup for me, because you've got one team that, with everything they've endured, should be going nowhere fast. I mean, really, the 49ers with all the injuries, and I'm not just talking about Warner and Bosa. I'm talking about not having Brock Purdy for all those games, George Kittle for all those games, Ricky Pierce for all those games, no Brandon Ayuk, and that's not including all of the other people who've gone in and out throughout the season, Sam O, Uchers, Gross Matos, all of that. And then you have a team that has this new coach. It's come in, completely changed the culture, as now the NFC North champs have set an NFL record for is it coming back with 2 minutes in the game?
It's the 6 wins in under 2 when trailing with under 2 minutes. Only team in NFL history to do that.
And so it's kind of a fun game in that way from a storyline perspective, because they both have this kind of aura around them, and which one of those auras really breaks through tonight. And I think in that way, it's kind of a fun game.
Without a doubt. And they've been the team. Need an onside kick? They get it.
I mean, that was unbelievable.
Need the opponent to fumble? They get it. Need a big interception? They've been the team to get it. But it's going to be a good one. Niners obviously controlling their own fate for the number 1 seed. Seattle, because they won, coming in here next week. If the Niners win, then that game's for the 1 seed. And the Bears, of course, still holding out some hope that maybe they can get the 1 seed if they can get tonight, and then get a little bit of help along the way from the Niners next week.
JD, John Dickinson, the voice you hear, he'll be with us on the postgame show as well. JD, enjoy the game, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
We've got the active actives and inactives for the 49ers and the Bears. The Bears inactives, Zacchaeus, Ruben Hippolyte, Dallas Flowers, Luke Newman, Roma Dunze, Nick McLeod, all inactive. So DJ Moore, Darnell Wright, Nashawn Wright, TJ Edwards, and Josh Blackwell are all active in this one. I'm looking for the 49ers actives. You don't have it there in front of you, do you, JD?
Not quite. Just doing a quick shuffle
I'm looking
here.
real quick,
I think
too.
they're
I have the
right
Bears.
here. I think I have them in about, as soon as this thing refreshes, I think I got them.
Okay.
I got it for you.
You've got it for us. Thank you.
George Kittle is inactive. So
Okay.
that's probably the big thing that you were interested in.
That's what I was looking for.
That was the big one. And then Ricky Pearsall is active. And your inactives are Jordan Watkins, Robert Beal Jr., Isaac Guerrero, Kevin Givens, Renardo Green, Curtis Robinson, and George Kittle.
There you go. Those are your inactives. So no George Kittle today. Ricky Pearsall is back. We'll take a quick break. When we come on back, we got our 49er player spotlight, and we'll go up to the broadcast booth and check in with Guy Haberman, the Niners and the Bears, Sunday Night Football on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland back with your 49er player spotlight ahead of Week 17, the Niners and the Bears Sunday Night Football. Brock Purdy under the lights, and he is our player spotlight for today. Coming off of maybe the best game of his career last week in the 48-27 win over the Colts, completing 73.5% of his passes for 295 through the air, 5 touchdowns to 4 different receivers, and threw 1 interception in that game. The Niners did get it right back. Brock Purdy playing at a high level, 6-1 this year as a starter, 5-0 since coming back from the turf toe injury. Brock Purdy this week, or after the game, talked about finding ways to win every week and the importance of stacking as many wins as possible.
All I've heard since I've been here is we got to make it to the Super Bowl, and I've looked at that like, let's go. We got a great team to go do it. I just got to be on top of my job and do my part, and we're going to roll. And then so just hearing Kyle say that, early in the offseason, for me, it was like, all right, like we got to find ways to win games. Like I said, early in the season, middle, and late. And it's not always going to be pretty. Since I've been here early in my career, we were, dominating teams, and the game was basically over in the fourth quarter. And so now it's like, we got to find ways to win all the way through the very end, and keep stacking those wins. So you never take a win for granted in the NFL, and that's something that I've learned, the last 2 years. So I don't know. I think when he told us that, I sort of started getting my mind wrapped around for the type of season that we've had.
Brock Purdy played at an extremely high level in their last 3 games. Brock Purdy 9 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's facing a team that's picked off more balls this year, 21 in the Chicago Bears, than any team in football. Brock Purdy under the lights, and he's this week's 49er Player Spotlight. Back here from Levi's Stadium, Adam Copeland, Todd Husak with you ahead of the Niners and the Bears Sunday Night Football. And joining us, a man who'll be on the call tonight, Guy Haberman. And Guy, we haven't talked about it really today, but just wanted to put it out there because I know it was news this week. We thought Greg was going to be on the call tonight, and instead of late scratch, and so Guy's going to step in for the call. Guy, it's good to have you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to talk to you guys again. I know we had all hoped that that Greg would be here today, and perhaps, certainly we hope that maybe that'll happen next week. But first and foremost, he's has to prioritize his health, and so that's what he's doing today, and we're all happy about that.
Yeah, I know how bad he wanted to be here today, so we're thinking about him and hoping we can still get him back at some point later this season, be it next week or beyond. Basically, everything, Guy, is shaping up the way we'd all kind of mapped out a perfect scenario for the Niners, that they go into Week 18 with a chance to play for the number 1 seed. Seattle wins today, so if the Niners handle business against the Bears, they'll get that opportunity next week. I was saying earlier, it feels to me like this is an iron sharpening iron type of game for both of these teams.
Yeah, this is not for all of the what about the schedule, it's been an easy schedule, quote unquote. I know there's no such thing. This game does not fall into that category, right? This is 2 teams that are playing today because they both finished in last place last year. No time in NFL history, Nug Alert, have 2 11-loss teams met the following year as 11-win teams.
Wow.
Did you have that one, Coach?
That's a good nug. I didn't, dude. I got one for you, but I didn't have that one. That's a good one.
So, the schedule makers, when they decided to put this on Sunday night, first of all, 49ers, Bears, they got to, even if they're both winless, this game rates. But who would have thought, when they put the schedule together, this last place, this game is because they both finished in last place last year as part of the schedule rotation. And who would have thought it would be this? And it is the biggest game of the year for the 49ers. And if they win it, then next week is the biggest game of the year.
We've seen Caleb Williams this year eliminate a lot of the negative plays. He led this NFL in times getting sacked a year ago. He's much, much better this year. Guys, you've watched the tape. What have you seen from him that's allowed him to take this next step in his development?
Well, I think it's, first of all, he's got Ben Johnson, the obvious, but they don't put him in a lot of positions where he has to force the issue. I think he's done a really good job. If you go back, and I know, Todd, you watched him a lot in college, like most of us did, he had to create so much at USC. And in this year, they've put him in a position where he doesn't have to create as much. He is throwing the ball away. He is not making mistakes. And it's pretty incredible. The 58% completion percentage, you think, well, maybe he's at the top of the league in yards per attempt. He's not. But to only have 6 interceptions this year, to have a 2-year player have 40-plus interceptions at quarterback, and 40-plus touchdowns and 12 interceptions, which is where he is for his career right now, is pretty awesome, like really awesome. So I think he's done a very good job of getting rid of the football when there's nothing there. That's where you hope, like, can you put them behind early and force them to have to create? And then obviously the other thing that stands out is just he is so hard to get to. A, because he gets rid of it quicker, but B, because of his athleticism. And so that's what's scary today.
Well, and the Bears have a strong run game, which has helped him and the offense stay on pace and on track throughout their drives. He's not having to make those big plays. We saw it a week ago with the 49ers really shutting down Jonathan Taylor. What were some of the keys in slowing him down and forcing Phillip Rivers to beat them?
Well, I think not being afraid, like you saw, of the deep of the deep ball. And if you're going to be bend but don't break, and the other team can hit a deep ball, then it's a problem. But we saw in the opening play of the game last week, the Colts win the coin toss. They take the ball, but they can't get it. Michael Pittman's open, and Phillip can't get it to him. As we saw when the Bears walked it off with DJ Moore last week, that is not the case with Chicago. Like, they can hit the deep ball if it's there. You figure the Titans hit it, missed it. The Colts couldn't hit it last week. Chicago can hit it. And I think that's got to open up the run game for them in a way that they couldn't open it up for Jonathan Taylor. It wasn't just the 49ers. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, who was, I think, over 6 yards a carry through the first – I know he was over 6 yards a carry through their first 12 games, but under 3.5 since. So, that's a major issue for them, and it's tied directly to the fact that their quarterback, when he was rolling, Daniel Jones was also such a big run threat. Like you had to account for him in the quarterback run game, and that was not the case last week. So this is a very, very different animal in a different way than Phillip Rivers.
Guy, what year was it? Was it 2015, the year that the Raiders went 12-4 with Jack Del Rio?
Do you want me to get Pop on the phone?
We can get him. It was more to my point is
either Pop
would know. Do you remember that year though that they started calling him Black Jack Del Rio because it was like they had several. I mean, it might have been like 6 or 7 one-score games that they came up. On the
he
right
went
side
for 2. Was that the year Copes? He went for two in New Orleans to open the year.
That's exactly right, dude. And so they had all these coin toss games that every one of them went in their favor. And I sort of look at like the Chiefs last year had that happen. They played a lot of close one-score games. Yeah. They all went their way. This year early on, they didn't. I kind of wonder about that with the Bears, where they've come back 6 different times inside of 2 minutes. At some point, you're like, okay, they're capable of doing that, but they're in that situation so frequently that you wonder if that's a good spot to be in, or if that's a successful path towards a championship run. So, like, what do you make of them as a team and as a whole? Because there's something to finding ways to win late, but also they've been in that situation with bad teams a number of times.
Yeah, I think it tells you so much about the mental aspect of a team, and that's where they get credit. But it is not a sustainable thing to do. But even you go back to last week, the onside kick, which gets recovered 8% of the time,
right.
was a part of that. Now they've done it 5 other times too, where they've come back inside of 2 minutes. So I think it tells you their quick strike. I think it tells you their quarterback's a winner. Like, I think back to, again, him in college. He didn't win every big game, but I just think he's a winner because he is so skilled. So, I mean, to me, it's I don't know if we looked at the great comeback teams. I would bet they all had quarterbacks that could create. I remember SC a couple years ago against Arizona ran an overtime 2-point play where they spread everybody out to the left. Other than, like, the center and one other guy. It was like that fake punt the Colts tried once and failed miserably.
Yeah.
And they snapped it to Caleb, and what ended up happening was he ended up, because everyone else was outside the numbers left, except for whoever snapped in the ball and maybe one other guard or something. And it just ended up with him playing one-on-one on the perimeter, and he scored. And it was the most gutsy play. It was just an insane play call. And I think that's why they are who they are. But the point, like they do find themselves in a hole also. And I think this Niner team, the Bears have given up one touchdown on the opening drive of a game this year. So that's strength on strength the second the 49ers get the football. And I think we've seen the offense has been efficient. All of the things. There's so many stats over this winning streak that are significant. But I think the special teams has helped the 49ers play from ahead. That happened against the Cardinals with Sky Moore. It happened last week with that Jair Brown. I mean, that was going to be back and forth, everybody just exchanging touchdowns until Jair Brown forced the fumble on the kick. And the Niners went from down 7-0 to tied 7-7 to up 14-7. And that's got to happen again today.
Well, here's another special teams nugget for you. 49ers lead the NFL in average starting field position past their own 33-yard line. So they've gotten it done even when they're not creating turnovers. Just simple returns have been a huge bonus for them.
Huge, yeah. And I hopefully if he has to, hopefully he doesn't have to punt today. But if Thomas Morstead has to punt today, he's been really good at the field position game too.
I can't remember.
If he's still here, he might be in Cabo.
You might be. That was a note we were throwing out earlier too. No team has ever gone 3 consecutive games without a punt. Here's the Brock Purdy note I had for you, guy.
Okay.
Brock's going up against Caleb tonight, former number 1 pick. Brock is 10-6, including the playoffs in his career against number 1 overall picks.
Brock Purdy is 10-6 against number 1 over. He's played 16 games against number 1 overall picks.
How about that? In 2023, he played 3 games in a row against them. He went 6-1 that year, including playoffs. The only loss to Burrow. He beat Stafford, Kyler, Lawrence, Baker, Kyler again. This year, he's 2-1. Bryce Young, Cam Ward, and then Trevor Lawrence 0-1.
Yeah, that's a great one.
There you go.
Hi,
10-6.
Can I give you one?
Yeah, please.
So I'm going to go officiating.
Okay.
The white hat today is named Alex Moore, the referee. This crew has thrown the most flags per game in the NFL and had the most accepted penalties in the NFL. And they specifically have the most roughing the passer penalties in the NFL. And the Bears lead the league in roughing the passer penalties on defense with 9, which you think would, so I guess in one aspect that's to the favor of the 49ers. But what concerns me is when you have a quarterback like Caleb who runs around and is hard to catch and frustrates you. Like, that's also a scenario that is just dangerous because he's the kind of guy you hit late because you just have had enough and he slides and you're like, for the first time that I get to hit him. So, the Niners are one of the best teams at not committing penalties. The Bears are bottom third of the league in committing penalties, and this officiating crew calls the most in the league.
Yeah, I was going to say too many roughing the passer penalties probably won't be a problem for the Niners, but you bring up a good point with the mobility of Caleb Williams. Kind of makes you think of that Justin Fields in Chicago. Greenlaw hit a couple of years ago. He hits Dante Pettis, dude, on the next play, which was brutal.
In the pouring rain.
Yeah, week 2 or week 1 or whatever that was.
Yeah.
Guy Haberman will be on the call. 5:20 kickoff right here on the Sports Center. Guy, I'll see you upstairs, man. Have a good call.
Okay, guys. Good talking to you.
Good deal. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak with you. We'll take a quick break. We come on back. We'll get you our final thoughts on this one. Niners and the Bears kicking off in an hour and 10 minutes right here on the Sports Leader. Adam Copeland, Todd Husak with you ahead of the Niners and the Bears. We're just over an hour away from kickoff. We're getting ready to hand it over to Guy Haberman and Tim Ryan. They'll take you up to and through kickoff. But first, we got to get you the keys to the game, sponsored by your Bay Area Chevy dealers. Visit BayAreaChevroletDealers.com. I'm feeling pretty good in general about this one, Todd. I think the Bears deserve credit, much like I think the Niners deserve credit. I think the Niners are a better team. I think the Niners offense is better than the Bears offense. I think the Bears defense is better than the Niner offense. But I also don't think we've seen the Bears have to come back from down multiple scores if the Niners keep their foot on the gas. I mean, against the Packers, it was a low-scoring game. They were able to come back and things went their way. But 6 different times they've had to do that. It means that they're capable of doing that. But if the Niners are able to put points up quickly like they did last week and they get some help from any other facet of the game, be it special teams or defense, I think they can win this one by 10 points.
I think you're right. And you mentioned Caleb Williams splits home and road. He has not been nearly as effective on the road. So I think getting off to that fast start, putting some pressure on the Bears, let's see if they can keep pace.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where if the Niners can do, I mean, they came out and scored early and fast last week. That's an interesting note about the Bears. 1 touchdown allowed on an opening drive all season, 10 total points allowed on opening drives. It's the best and the fewest points allowed in the NFL. So something's got to give. I mean, the Niners have shown, too, they can come out, not score on the opening drive, and then still answer quickly. But long, sustained drives here are what you need. Try to suppress their opportunities to score quick and get back into it.
And can Tonjes fill in? George Kittle was huge last week, over 100 yards. Can Tonjes be – he's not George Kittle, but can he be effective over the middle? Larry Krueger brought up some points about their inability to cover at the tight end position, giving up over 6 yards – or excuse me, 6 catches per game to the opposing tight end. So there's opportunities for Jake Tonjes to have an impact today. I'll be curious to see what start he gets off to.
Yeah, Ricky Pearsall, by the way, his last game was week 15. It was that game against the Titans here in Santa Clara. 6 catches on 7 targets. That was with Brock, of course, 96 yards, no touchdowns. Kittle that game did have 9 targets and 8 catches. So you're going to need him to come from somewhere. We've talked in the past, is it Robinson? Is it Bourne? Ricky Pearsall needs to be a volume guy today, along with McCaffrey in the pass game.
Well, and we saw Pearsall targeted early that game against the Titans. First play of the game. Yeah. And so what will Kyle Shanahan look to attack? Will he try to get the ball to Tonjes? Will he target a certain player on this 49er offense to get them going? There'll be some opportunities. And then good news, they have Christian McCaffrey, who can do it all. A fascinating matchup. I agree with Tracy. Both of these teams playing with a lot of confidence. They think they can win every game. We'll see what start the 49ers can get off to.
Yeah, they're playing the best offense they have all year. The Niners are at the level that they're playing at. I mean, and everybody who says the Niners haven't had a tough schedule, and I know that some of it was not. Some of these wins and losses will age or better or worse than some of the others. I mean, the Seahawks win week 1 looks great. The Jags clearly are streaking towards the playoffs, and they're a dangerous team. The Texans are obviously a force to be reckoned with. So some of these games you've played look like they're a little bit better. Some of these opponents were a little bit better than when you played them. That said, these next 2 games are going to define, I think, how people view the Niners and how they view themselves heading into the playoffs. Could be the number 1 seed, but it has to start with a victory tonight against the Bears at Levi Stadium. Thanks to, our partner Tracy Sandler, who already went upstairs to the booth. Thanks to Guy Haberman, who will hear on the call in just a minute. Also, Matt Mayoko, John Dickinson, and Larry Krueger. Todd and I will be back with you on the post-game show. We'll hand it over to Tim Ryan and to Guy Haberman, who will take you up to kickoff. The Niners and the Bears. It's Sunday Night Football on the Sports Leader.